Good morning, welcome everyone. It's just a little bit after 11, so we're going to get started right away. I'm Diane Horton from Procurement Services, and I will be your moderator for today's session. The panelist with me today is Mark Tekamp from Sustainable Procurement. Mark will be presenting his webinar titled, Why Purchasing from Sustainable Enterprises is an Important Part of Sustainable Procurement. Today's webinar is number 1 in a 3-part series. Together, these 3 webinars are meant to help strengthen social enterprises by providing you with knowledge to move forward with the procurement processes. Before starting, let's take a quick moment to ensure that everybody is ready. First, you should notice at the right of your screen a control panel which contains icon images, one of which is a hand. To ensure everyone can hear us clearly, could everyone take a second to click on this button? This will let us know that we are broadcasting and you can hear us. Okay, great. I see some hands, so it sounds like everybody can hear us clearly. Second, you will have the ability to submit questions today using the questions section on the control panel. If this is your first time participating in a webinar, the process is simple for asking questions. Just simply type your question into the text window under the questions section and press enter. This question then should appear on everyone's screen. You can submit your text questions at any time, but due to time management, we will be waiting until the end of our session to answer all the questions. You should also know a recording of this webinar will be posted on our website where you will be able to reference it at any time. This webinar will be approximately 15 minutes in length, plus a short Q&A at the end. So let's get started, and I'm going to pass it over now to Mark. Mark?
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Tekamp, and I'm the Sustainable Procurement Project Coordinator here at ERDT. As we go through this webinar, if there are any glitches or anything with your machine or the program, feel free to just send in a question and or raise your hand, as Diane said, but we can see the questions when they come in, so feel free to write that in. Here we go to get started. We could begin with a definition of what a social enterprise is. Generally, they are defined as a business or organization operated for the purpose of addressing social, economic, or environmental challenges where profits and surpluses are reinvested to support community needs. That being said, there's no exact definition. Each social enterprise differs somehow in what they do. There are a number of social enterprises throughout Nova Scotia, tally in the hundreds of organizations, and they're in urban areas, rural areas, and quite diverse in what they do and what they can do. The government of Nova Scotia encourages successful social enterprises and strives to do business with these organizations whenever possible. When one considers the flow of funds within a region or a particular part of the province, it is important to note the priority that is placed on both reinvesting in the company, community needs, and directing the funds towards areas in need of support. In Nova Scotia, social enterprises exist in both rural and urban areas. They are not exclusive at all and can include all age and cultural groups. Social enterprises often would work with those that are challenged by various life circumstances and try to get people that may normally be on some type of social support back into the working class. In fact, there are many successful examples of getting capable people back into the workforce. The bottom line is that Nova Scotians want an economy that is socially conscious and supports the triple bottom line of being socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable. What do social enterprises do? Although many social enterprises operate at a community level and generally perform some of the same types of goods and services, there are some examples of what no social enterprises can do, here listed on the screen. Government is not the only client for social enterprises. It is important to note that they can provide. It is important to note, what social enterprises can provide, and not necessarily what we purchase. For example, the province does not, say, purchase training from social enterprises, but the point is that some social enterprises run very successful training and skills development practices. With this list, you can see that social enterprises can be very useful to any community that is in need of these services. Buying from these organizations creates additional community benefits that inspire local level cooperation and self-reliance. So with regard to recent purchases by the province from social enterprises, here are some examples. Woodworking, parts and kit assembly, goods for the protocol office, document functions, specialty, consumer products, catering, communications. Social enterprises are becoming an increasingly valuable part of how the government of Nova Scotia looks to buy these goods and services. So within the woodworking, there's been survey stakes, pallets that meet international shipping standards, energy kits, reading kits for the part assembly, gift items, document assembly, departments that host a lot of meetings, focus groups, etc., are often purchasing catering, and they can purchase catering from a number of different places. From the communication materials, you can see that we purchased those conference bags, buttons, reward and recognition items. The key point here is that the government of Nova Scotia already does business with social enterprises, and not only found areas to do more business, but support the concept that there are goods and a business approach that Nova Scotians could be proud of. On the next slide, we're going to talk about the tenets of sustainable procurement. The 2009 Sustainable Procurement Policy introduced the concept of best value, requiring us to consider more than just lowest price, but also the three pillars of sustainability, as you know, environment, economy, and society. To quickly summarize with regard to sustainable procurement, the social pillar includes considerations such as employee health and safety, health promotion, inclusiveness, and fair wages. The environmental pillar includes considerations such as toxic use reduction, waste reduction, and greenhouse gas reduction. The economic pillar includes important aspects such as life cycle cost, fiscal responsibility, and support for the local economy. We tend to feel that social enterprises fall under inclusiveness and fair wages, but certainly not limited to that at all. Support for social enterprises and sustainable procurement. From a policy point of view, there's tremendous support already in place for the Nova Scotia government to do business with social enterprises. The Nova Scotia Sustainable Procurement Policy came into place in 2009, as mentioned earlier, as an important deliverable under the Ecological Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act. All government departments are now required to consider sustainable criteria in all procurement decisions. This also marked a shift in thinking from a focus on what we call lowest cost to best value. Best value means that although a good might initially cost more than another comparable good, considerations such as energy consumed in the production, the product lifespan, and waste generation might present a lower life cycle cost over the lifetime of that product, hence best value. This policy also has provisions for alternative procurement, or Alt-P as we call it, transactions for circumstances such as processes that foster the development of minority businesses, shelter workshop programs, or goods and services from persons with disabilities, philanthropic institutions, or through employment equity programs. In addition, as stipulated in Jobs Here, which is the current plan to grow the economy in Nova Scotia, government will continue to support these initiatives. All right, for the next slide, to give you an example of who does the buying within the government, we'd like to give you some examples of the diversity of departments and agencies that exist currently in Nova Scotia. There are 18 established departments currently in the Nova Scotia department or government. This includes everything from environment, finance, health, education, energy, and fisheries and aquaculture. Those are just some examples, of course. There are also over 100 agencies, boards, and commissions. This includes examples such as Aboriginal Affairs, Conserve Nova Scotia, Elections Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Museum, Queen's Printer, Waterfront Development Corporation, just to name a few. In summary for this point, one can see that the Nova Scotia government is certainly a large organization with many different buyers and needs. You can find a listing of all these departments and agencies on the provincial website, www.gov.ns.ca. So to give you an example of some relevant spend stats, following on the previous slide describing the departments and agencies, we'd like to give you an idea of the amount of purchasing we're actually talking about here. Using data from fiscal year 2011-12, the Nova Scotia government spent over $1 billion on goods and services. This makes the Nova Scotia government a significant contributor to the regional economy of Nova Scotia. With specific regard to social enterprises, the Nova Scotia government spent approximately $5,559,235 during that same time. It is also important to note that this included in excess of 6,000 transactions. Although this averages out to just less than $1,000 per transaction, this could include both high and low value purchases. We will explain more about these thresholds in the next webinar in the series. However, the point here would be that although the Nova Scotia public sector spends millions each year on goods and services directly from social enterprises, having over 6,000 transactions indicates that the majority of those transactions would be considered under low threshold purchases, which is less than $10,000. Dealing with these smaller purchases is where the majority of business would take place, so that's an important consideration. Our task within Procurement Services, we've developed a number of priorities to incorporate sustainable procurement into the concept of creating a friendlier business environment for social enterprises. Specifically, Procurement Services will work with social enterprises to promote awareness of government's purchasing procedures among social enterprises, promote awareness of social enterprises to internal government staff. We will spread information on how social enterprises can do business with government. We will identify government purchasing needs that provide opportunities for social enterprises, and we will work with existing initiatives to catalog the goods and services that social enterprises provide on the market. So this last one, we're very interested in learning about the goods and services that social enterprises do provide. However, I don't think anyone's in the business of creating like a list of these are exactly all 900 social enterprises and what they do and contact information. The idea with that it's difficult to stay on top of that and to keep up to date on the latest contact info. So what we want to do is, and this is a common approach to this, is work with people that are cataloging these goods and services and just try and keep it as relevant as possible. But again, it's a collaborative effort. Working with social enterprises over the last year, Procurement Services has worked with social enterprises in an effort to promote our priorities and create that friendly business environment. Specifically, we've formalized the Social Enterprise Procurement Services Working Group by establishing members, terms of reference, and hosting quarterly meetings. We've developed additional online support through the production of webinars such as this, and then the rest of the ones in this series. There's 2 more. We produced that goods and services list that we've tried to pull together that catalog of what other people have done, and we posted that online. Wherever possible, we've gone on site visits to local social enterprises to learn more about what they do and how the Nova Scotia government can help. Procurement Services has also given a number of presentations to cluster groups, which is usually a collection of social enterprises available at either a conference or a separate meeting. It's difficult to get out and to meet with each one, but if there's an AGM or a conference or a workshop or a couple of groups are all at the same place on the same day, we're very, very interested in going and meeting and giving a presentation if need be, or listening to a presentation from a social enterprise. We've contributed regularly to the Procurement Progress newsletter, and we've worked on including mentions of social enterprises, either through seasonal event listings or the importance of doing business with social enterprises. And we've also created an email list that we use for regular announcements or to work with social enterprises when asking for help collecting information, or even many of these Nova Scotia photos that we can use in presentations such as these that you've seen throughout the presentation. Those are all social enterprises at work here in Nova Scotia. All right, so this concludes my presentation for today. We have another one coming up next week. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll pass it back to Diane.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mark. We now have some time left over to get to a few questions regarding this webinar. Again, to submit a question, just simply go to the text window under the questions section once you open that section and type in your question and then press enter. We'll just take a few moments now to give you some time to gather any questions you have and send those in. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in.
All right, we had an earlier question about where we've actually presented to. So we went to there's a conference at Dalhousie, a sustainability conference, and we presented with another social enterprise just the importance of doing business with social enterprises and how it's an important part of sustainable procurement. We also went to, there's an International Year of the Cooperatives Conference, and it was a discussion comparing the practices between cooperatives and social enterprises. That was I believe that was in November at Mount St. Vincent. And also we went to the Directions Council AGM. We presented to that group, and also just a number of small presentations just with a couple people in a room somewhere. So yeah, those are the cluster meetings that we're talking about. We'd like to take advantage of those opportunities. So if anyone next week, next month, a couple months from now, if anyone has any ideas of, hey, we have a couple people, they're going to be in Halifax on this day, and do you want to stop by for an hour and just to meet people or to learn more about what we do? By all means, email that in. There'll be a contact info at the end of this presentation. Email that in, and we'd be very keen on taking part.
Okay, we'll just take a few more seconds now just to see if any questions come in. If you have any questions regarding this webinar at all, just type them in the text box and send it to us, and we'll be happy to answer those. Okay, I guess there's no questions for today's webinar, so this would conclude our presentation for today. We would like to thank everyone for participating today. We'd also like you to send out an invite to you for our next webinar that is coming up. And the next webinar is going to be titled Helping Social Enterprises Sell Their Goods and Services to the Government of Nova Scotia. This session will be presented on Tuesday, March the 12th at 2 o'clock. Everyone who attended today's session should receive an email invitation for our next webinar session. If for some reason you do not, please feel free to either call or to send an email to the address noted on our screen. If there are no further questions, then this would conclude our session for today, and we thank you for participating. To exit the session, simply just click the X, the box marked with an X at the right top hand side of your screen. Thank you very much and have a great day.